Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Speedbreaker, and today I got some pretty exciting news regarding DayZ Standalone. Now, before I'm gonna dive right into the topic of explaining all the new game mechanics and changes that they've incorporated into the standalone, I'd like to discuss a little bit the release date. Now, of course, I don't have any additional information on that, and we can only speculate from what we've heard and seen so far. So E3 then stated that the alpha is gonna come out at the end of June, or should come out at the end of June. And since we're already at the end of June, we're probably not gonna see it now. However, he said that they're really pressured to release the alpha, and they really want to get some feedback from players. And they just want to make it right. So I think we're probably going to see a possible release of the alpha in the middle of July, which is like 2-3 weeks from now. So the first big change that I want to discuss in this video is how everything is done server side. So you might be familiar with DayZ, the mod. Everything is done on the client, and everything you do and interact with the environment is client wise. So basically you can create your own stuff. You can act pretty easily, and this is the biggest flaw of the game so far, because you can just teleport or create items or anything on the client. Now in standalone, this is not going to be possible anymore, because everything is going to be done server side. So any item that you have, or basically everything that you've got in your backpack, all the variables that you have assigned to, they don't even exist on the computer, they only exist on server. So you have no control over those variables whatsoever, and that means you can't hack, you can't teleport, you can't just create items on the client, because the server is where all these things are at, and you probably had to hack the server. Now also the way how zombie spawns are going to be completely different from the way it worked in the mod. Now I'm sure you're all familiar with the way it worked in the mod. If you come into a town, zombies spawn. If you go away, they despawn. So whenever you see a town and zombies in there, you know there's going to be a player around and you're going to be cautious. Now in the standalone, it's not going to be that easy anymore, because zombies are going to spawn at the start of the round, and they're going to be persistent. So once they've spawned, they're not just going to despawn, they're going to stay there. So basically when you see zombies, it doesn't mean anything. Now you can actually clear out areas. So basically you have a little city, and there's like an area assigned to it where zombies spawned, and you can actually clear them out, and they won't respawn until the player leaves. However, there is a big possibility that wandering hordes are running into that city, or just wandering into that city, and then you're gonna have real problems. So you can't just camp a city, kill all the zombies and just camp it. You actually always have to be kind of aware of those wandering hordes. Now another big change from the mod is how loot spawns. Now of course loot spawns now under like a bed or under a shed or anything. There's like millions of new places where loot is gonna spawn, but that's not really the interesting part of the loot spawning system. The interesting thing is that loot spawns randomly. So basically the server doesn't have some sort of possibility where loot spawns, it actually just spawns it all over the map. So that means users can't create loot spawn maps, because things are just gonna spawn everywhere and not just on one particular place. And that of course is a really great mechanic, and that really makes for way more scavenging, and it makes it worth to check out every building. Now of course in DayZ Standalone we're gonna have 90% or even more of the buildings that are enterable, and then those buildings that are not enterable actually have some sort of wooden plank in front of the door, so you can see that you can't enter it. You don't even have to walk up to it. So all the buildings basically are enterable, and in any building there can be pretty much anything, which is awesome news in my opinion, because it really makes scavenging worthwhile, and not just something, yeah, well, there's a couple of beans there. Now another pretty cool thing regarding loot spawn is centralized loot spawning. So basically they're gonna have set up a server which controls all of the really high value loot spawns. So basically AS50s and L85 thermal scope, they're gonna be in the game. However, they're gonna be really rare. Let's say there's only one L85 thermal in the entire world. Like all the servers around the world are just gonna have one L85 in them, and once it gets destroyed or lost, it's gonna be respawned somewhere else. So basically that just makes the game more interesting and more kind of, oh, if I find something, you really want to keep up to that, and you don't just run into a town and just kill everybody. Now something else that's done server side is going to be object and viewing distance, and this has to do with, you know, when people downgrade their system, or basically they just make the settings that everything is on low and they can basically see through grass and stones because they're not even rendered. Now this is not possible anymore, because the server is actually controlling the object and render distance. View distance, excuse me. So this is a pretty good thing in my opinion as well, because, you know, you had disadvantages when you were playing on high, which is just stupid, you know. Now, regarding combat logging, they came up with a pretty neat concept in my opinion. So basically when you leave a server or you alt F4, your character is just gonna sit down on the server for say 30 seconds, and in that time you still can get killed. So it really makes it worth to check your surroundings before you log out, and not just combat log like people like to do in heavy gunfights. So this is a pretty nice concept, and I'm pretty sure that this is gonna prevent all the problems that we had from the mod. Now, with all those changes, they're really trying to make the game run smooth on any system, even on low-end PCs, they want to make it run smooth. Of course, on high-end PCs, you're gonna have higher frames, but I think they're really trying to push the game, and not just like Arma 3, which has pretty mediocre frame rates, but I really hope that the DayZ Standalone is gonna have really fluent frame rates and fluent gameplay. Now, the next thing that I want to touch on real quick is the new crafting system. So basically we're going to be able to craft our own things. You can have duct tape, and you can duct tape it around a weapon and improvise some sort of attachments to it. You also have new attachments, by the way. You can have a silencer or different scopes to the same weapon, so you don't have to kind of look for the gun that has a silencer or a certain scope in it. You can actually exchange it, which in my opinion just makes sense. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So basically the new crafting system allows you to do like self-made explosives if you attach a flare to a can of spray, or you can attach two maps to each other, so you have one map, or you can also do like some sort of transfusion kits. They're trying to make really cool things actually, and these are just like some of the things that you can do, and I'm really looking forward to how far this is gonna go, like to what kind of extent we can craft things. Now, of course, there's going to be like plenty of new items such as radios and batteries that you have to have in the radios that they work. They're going to be working like a walkie-talkie, where you have like a 1 kilometer radius around the walkie-talkie where you can actually talk with other players, and you can also listen to like radio stations which are just like internet radios, and that's pretty cool in my opinion. And also there's like disinfecting items, and a really big part of the game is going to be a little bit in the medical direction. So you're going to have to disinfect water, you're going to have to sterilize things before you use them, and just to make sure that you don't catch like cholera or any other infection in that matter. And yeah, there's gonna be like loads of medical supplies and medical tools in DayZ Standalone. Now, also they've implemented that all the objectives are gonna act like vehicles. Now, that doesn't make sense at first, but let me explain. So basically, you can interact with any item. So you can sterilize them, disinfect them. You can have different textures when they have different attributes. For example, you have some shoes and they're already used, so they're gonna be worn off. You also have some sort of foot damage value, where you actually, when you run over tarmac without shoes, you damage your feet and you're gonna be limping. So that's a lot of details and things that they've included yet already at the alpha, which is, in my opinion, pretty cool, but it's probably a little bit too detailed in my opinion. But yeah, we're gonna see how this is gonna work out. Also, they're gonna try to include a little bit of a meta game into the game, because, you know, DayZ mod is kind of pretty much just PvP, because the zombies are not a real threat anymore, and, you know, it's just about killing the most players. Now, they're really trying to push some sort of meta game where you have to be like good in medical supplies or in repairing things, and there's some pretty cool things that they've actually talked about, but not really specific. They weren't really going into details on how they're gonna do it. And regarding that, they also said that you can't do it on your own. So basically, you can play as a lone wolf, but you have to trade. There's some things that you just don't find in the world, or you're just not lucky enough to find them in one life. So you basically have to have multiple people playing with you, or you have to trade. So this is also gonna make interaction with other players more valuable or more worth it. And final note, DayZ is probably gonna come out on the PlayStation 4, because PlayStation 4 is gonna have indie support, so they can actually just roll out those patches, because they're gonna be patching the game a lot. There's gonna be loads of bugs and fixes that you're gonna have to address, and yeah, that's just why they're probably not gonna be coming to Xbox, because they can't do that. They always have to pay a certain amount of money to patch their game on the Xbox. However, on the PS4, for those indie titles, they can just patch whenever they want. Now, just real quick, a little bit DayZ unrelated news. I've been playing loads of Arma 3 in the past, and the beta is actually out now, so that's a good thing. This went from alpha to beta, and it's a little bit more stable, I guess. The frames actually dropped even further, but whatever. The game is pretty awesome, actually, and yeah, I really enjoy playing it, so you can expect some pretty cool footage soon on this channel. So yeah, that's pretty much all the information about DayZ and Arma that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, as it helps out a lot. Thanks for watching, have a good one, and until next time, cheers!